Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're looking at some brand new zombie support for Dimension Force. Mad Murder is a level 2 Dark Attribute zombie type tuner effect monster with 400 attack and 200 defense. It's got the effect you can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. This card's name becomes plaguespreader zombie or face up on the field or in the graveyard. 2. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 6 or higher monster you control, decrease its level by 2, and if you do, special summon this card. But you cannot special summon monsters while it is face up in the monster zone, except zombie monsters. The great thing about this card is it's easily able to summon itself. It gets treated as plaguespreader zombie, which is nice considering there are a number of synchro monsters that do need a plaguespreader zombie specifically to summon them. It's also able to special summon itself and reoccur from the graveyard by just reducing your level monsters by a couple of levels. That's fine because maybe there's a specific level you want to achieve, and you're going to be able to do that far easier by adjusting levels through this card than you are running very niche support that might just break your hand, such as level change, for example. The limitation of special summoning only zombie monsters whilst it's on the field is also not a concern. There are restrictions within the deck that run very much that you can only summon zombie type monsters, so it's nothing new of a restriction and it would apply, and the fact it has applied means they have done some playstyle testing for it, which is always a good thing. Al Ghul Mazara is a level 8 Earth Attribute zombie type effect monster with 2800 attack and 2300 defense. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If a zombie monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your hand or graveyard instead. 2. If this card becomes banished from your hand or graveyard, you can special summon it in defense position, then you can decrease its level by 1. So the nice thing about this card is, firstly, if any of your zombie monsters are threatened by battle or card effect destruction, just getting rid of this card either from the hand or the graveyard means you've got instant protection, and from using its first effect, actually by then using the second effect, you can just, if it's just banished because of the first effect, you're just able to special summon it. Yes, it does go into defense position and it does have 500 less defense, and it does decrease its level by 1, but it's permanently going to be able to kind of recycle itself, which is something nice about the zombie archetype. It should be noted there is actually another Mazara card called Mazara Deville. It's an Archfiend specific card which requires you to tribute Warrior of Zera whilst you've got Pandemonium Field spell currently activated on the field. And I think it discards 3 cards from your opponent's hand, and that's a decent effect, and they're based on the same monster. This is a zombie version. Red Eye's Zombie Dragon Lord is a level 10 Dark Attribute zombie type synchro effect monster with 2800 attack and 2400 defense. The materials are 1 zombie tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. During your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can target 1 zombie monster in your graveyard, except Red Eye's Zombie Dragon Lord, special summon it. 2. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 zombie monster you control, special summon this card. The nice thing about this card is it's quite flexible for what it needs to be. The stat lineup is the same as Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon, so I think there's supposed to be making this a zombie version of that card. It makes sense, since we already have a Red Eye's Zombie Dragon, which is the typical Red Eye's Black Dragon, same stats, but with an effect. The first effect isn't that big of a deal because during the opponent's turn, you can just special summon any of your zombie monsters except a copy of itself. Obviously, that'd be too broken if it can just reoccur that easily. The thing is, it can be activated at any point within your opponent's turn. It doesn't have to be during their main phase. So if you want to be able to save this for your opponent's main phase 2, or even their end phase, that means you've reoccurred a zombie monster consistently, and that way you can use it for maybe a synchro summon or for tribute fodder, whichever you desire. The secondary ability happens to be also very good because that is a reoccurring effect to be able to just banish a zombie monster to just bring this card out. So long as you've got zombies, you can continuously fuel this card. And I think that's what makes it a level 10 rather than something like a level 8 because of that reoccurrence. It should also be noted if you happen to have one of those monsters in your graveyard and you've also got another one on the field, you can just revive one of your zombie monsters and then you can actually just banish that zombie monster to bring out the second version of itself, enabling a beatdown style of strategy. Corpse Dragon Lord Felgrand is a level 8 light attribute zombie type synchro effect monster with 2800 attack and defense. Its materials require a zombie tuner plus one or more non-tuner monsters. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. 1. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard and banish it. 2. If a monster is special summoned from the graveyard while this monster is face up on the field, you can target one face up monster on the field except this card, negate its effects until the end of this turn. The summoning conditions for a level 8 aren't bad. Needing a zombie type monster is very typical substandard within all zombie type archetypes anyway, so it's not a problem. There's enough support. The first effect, when it's special summoned, to just banish one of your opponent's monsters, both either if they've controlled one or in their graveyard, means that you can actually just get rid of their threats whilst they're on the field. This secondary ability to negate one of your opponent's monsters happens to work alongside if they've revived something, so if they've managed to revive, you can actually negate the monster they've revived, making it very powerful. Immortal Dragon is a level 6 dark attribute zombie type synchro tuner effect monster with 500 attack and 2400 defense. Materials, it requires one tuner plus one or more non-tuner monsters. You can only use the first and second effects of this card's name each once per turn. 1. During your main phase, you can send one zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the difference between its original level and the sent monsters. 2. When your zombie monster is destroyed by battle while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. The summoning of this card isn't too difficult, it's actually very generic, it just needs a tuner plus one or more non-tuner monsters, it's fine. The first effect is zombie reliant, because by sending a zombie from the deck to the graveyard, you can actually adjust this card's level a bit more than you would. It's not copying level, it's adjusting it for the difference between two levels. So if your other monster is a level 8, difference between the two cards is 2, so it'd make this card a level 7, for example. And it helps to just propel the summoning of some of the more powerful and higher level synchro monsters. Secondary ability, if this happens to be in the graveyard and one of your zombie monsters is destroyed, you just get to reoccur it. 2400 defense, it's fine, but you're most likely just going to be using it as synchro material, so it will have its purpose anyway. Zombie Reborn is a normal spell card with the effect you can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. 1. Target one zombie monster in either graveyard, banish one monster with the same name from your deck or extra deck, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster. 2. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one of your banished zombie monsters into the deck, and if you do, set this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. So this is basically Monster Reborn for zombie type monsters. By selecting a zombie monster in either graveyard, you're just having to send a monster with the same name from your deck or extra deck, and you could just special summon that card. It's fine, but I would be a little concerned because I know you can make your opponent's monsters in the graveyard zombies through Zombie World. Problem with that is if you don't have a copy of that card, then it can't really be used against your opponent for that. It's more likely you're going to revive your own cards, unless it happens to be the extra deck. A lot of extra decks, even to this day, have certain cards which are almost cookie cutter, which keep to a very similar type of format and are used as backup cards. So if you're able to revive one of those, that's always an option. And since they'll be treated as zombies, it doesn't matter. So long as you've got the zombie world up, you're fine. Secondary ability to just shuffle one of the zombies that are banished back into the deck is a form of recovery where you don't have to run very niche support. And then you get to reset this and then hopefully use it again at a later stage. But bear in mind, it does banish itself when it leaves the field. That's typical fare for anything that reoccurs. If it's a normal spell card with double utility, it will often have that as a negative consequence. And the final card is Haunted Zombie. This is a normal trap card with the effect you can only use one of the first and second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. 1. Banish one zombie monster that has a level from either graveyard, and if you do, special summon 2 haunted tokens, zombie dark attribute with 0 attack and defense, with the same level as that monster. 2. If this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one of your banished zombie type monsters into the deck, and if you do, set this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. The purpose of the first effect is you're generating 2 tokens which can be used for going into a synchro summon. By just banishing, say for example, a level 4 monster, that means you get 2 level 4 tokens, that's your level 8 required. You bring out that Mad Murder, which is the level 2 tuna monster. Combine the 3 together and you get your level 10 zombie red eyes monster that was mentioned previously. That's the purpose of it. Alternatively, you can go for the lower ones, but you're always going to try and reach as big as you can. Secondary ability is just a recovery one as well. Similar to Zombie Reborn, it has that same effect where you can banish. You can shuffle one of your banished zombie monsters back into the deck, and then you can reoccur this card on the field. It does have the same negative side that once it's used for a second time, as a result of this effect, it does get banished, but I'm sure there are other ways of recovering this as well outside of the deck if you're happening to search it for it. So what do you guys think of this brand new zombie support? I am a little surprised that they have reintroduced these types of cards, but I am very happy to see kind of the whole combination of them. I think absolutely my favourite would be that brand new synchro monster, the big boss one, because frankly, we've needed another zombie monster that can replace, and Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord is definitely a distinction we needed to have. My only concerns with this set of cards going into the future is to what extent are they going to be that relevant? I know they're a niche strategy which helps to boost the zombie types overall, but you've already got a number of these cards splashed within the deck, and how many more are you going to want? Certain ones of these I can see as not being too useful. Mad Murder I see is really useful, definitely going to be out there. This Al Ghul Mazara I'm a little unsure of, just because they've got so many other cards that can actually revive themselves anyway. This might be forgotten about. If anything, this is going to be the one thing that is easily the most forgettable. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this? Is there any other cards that you think are better used and can actually pair well with zombies? Or like me, do you think this is kind of a forgotten card? If you have enjoyed this, I would appreciate that you watch the video that's up here up the end screen, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed my content. I hope you have a nice Christmas and a happy new year.